Oh, it's going to be a big one here today, everybody. We're in the mood. Are you in the mood? It's the amazing Spider-Man rewatch. It's myself. It's Coy Jandreau. No one knows how to say his last name. It doesn't matter.
Every different way.
And Winston A. Marshall. We are here. We are ready. It's going to be a good show, everybody. If you've been enjoying the rewatch series, then you should stick around because we got a lot more of these things to go. This is the Andrew Garfield, the first one, 2012, I believe. It doesn't matter. So we're going to talk about this and a lot of other things here today. It's me, it's Coy, it's Winston. It is the big thing. Let's do it, Mother Fs. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, there it is. It's the rewatch. There's a lizard. Emma Stone is in it. But it's not J.K. Simmons. Nope. Dennis Leary. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
I'm excited for this one, man.
I didn't fucking ask you to talk.
You know, you said how you doing. I heard it. I was there for it.
Right.
I received the information.
And I dropped one already.
Oh, Christian thought that was for the people that aren't with microphones that are just watching this, that are like in the chat
He's
right now.
He's rhetorically asking, and I thought I was in the room with him.
Yeah,
no,
who do I think I am?
That's right. People like us together.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Who do you think you are? I am. You know Kalinowski did that when he beat Chandler?
I saw that. I said I was like, I actually got. It was one of those moments where I already. Oh, here we go. There we go. It was one of those moments that I was already pissed because I was like, God, you know, that was a rough match and like blah blah blah, and it was close. And then he screamed that I was like, you're gonna take one of my favorite moments
ever.
He ruined
all
a
time.
bowling
He did
for
it
you.
Twice.
God.
Ouch.
You're a little winning it here over for me, so I got to change this.
Okay.
There you go. Somebody talk.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We're here for the amazing Spider-Man rewatch, which I'm just gonna come out the gate and say it, man. I really like this movie.
I like this movie a lot, dude.
Like
I actually talked to Christian yesterday, and I had a way better experience with this than the Sam Raimi first one.
Yeah. So here's the thing is what I said to Coy yesterday. I think I'm going to be probably the contrarian the most on this one out of the three of us. What's funny is that when you go back and you look at my review at Schmoes Know, I think that I talked about how I might even like this better than any of the Raimi ones and how much I like Andrew Garfield in it. So what I'll tell you is that a lot of the stuff in this movie, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. I think Andrew Garfield is great. But there's a lot of bad. Yeah. There's a lot of bad. And I don't really like the story in this one. I like the story better in the Raimi ones. I like the problem with Peter Parker in this is not Andrew Garfield. The problem is he's cool before he's Spider-Man. And
I didn't think he was as cool as I remembered him being, because he was really neurotic and twitchy, and he had like a weird neurosis thing, which I
can still be cool though, and still have neurosis.
See, I've always thought of Peter Parker is not completely inept because he gets Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy.
There's a difference between inept and cool.
Fair.
He's skateboarding. He's protecting kids. He's not nervous about, you know, he'll go up against Flash. He doesn't mind. He doesn't like, it's that stuff. He's got that kind of personality, right? He's a skateboarder. He does this. He's already talking to girls, and that's cool. And he plays Spider-Man great.
Yeah.
I think way better than Tobey when it comes to the quips and the comment like that. And there's certain imagery,
the physicality.
There's certain imagery that's straight out of the comic books, like when he's fighting against a lizard or whatever. And and like there's stuff that's just beautiful in this movie. But the stuff with the parents lost me. It's just not. It's just.
But isn't that canon though?
It's not till like the 90s though. Like that was canon. So they wrote this. This comic is loosely based on stuff from the Silver Age. So the lizard stuff and that origin stuff that they use is from the 60s.
Right.
The Spider-Man parent stuff was introduced around issue 400. So it's going to be the mid 90s, and it was in the peak of make everyone cool. So the problem was, as it felt in the movie, was this was a lot of like, you know, Batman's doing well, and they're like, what if he loses his parents and it's dark and edgy? Like this to me felt like Sony being like, yo, that Batman. So to me, this was more reflecting what they felt like the first three were missing than Spider-Man himself, which in ways worked for me because Tobey was not Spider-Man to me. Andrew was, but unfortunately, Avia Rod and whoever producers were saying what Spider-Man was like, he's an orphan and that's what's important. He's cool and he doesn't know it yet. Nah, not really. Like they nudged Peter the wrong direction, while Spider-Man I think lands.
But Winston, tone-wise, I liked. Like a lot of tone, because the dramatic stuff, like I thought that Andrew Garfield plays really well, and the stuff like when Ben dies in that scene, and how it's way less cheesy than the Raimi ones, and that part of it I liked. I just like the story better in the Raimi first two movies.
Yeah, no, I get it. I guess the only thing that I would say, the concern about him being too cool, I think they tried to lean more into then that loner type situation because even
he's
with
a loner,
him,
he's a rebel.
Because I don't necessarily hate the idea of him standing up to Flash and he's Peter Parker, and he's without spider powers, he gets his ass whooped like hard. So like you see a lot of that with like a situation where somebody is still on the fringe, they're a loner, they're a nerd, whatever, but they won't just stand up and tolerate BS. I mean, I think that speaks to how Ben and May were raising him. So that doesn't necessarily bother me, but I understand what you mean about like, even through his stuttering, he's doing too good of a job talking to Gwen. I think if it had been a situation where
he's just an awkward teen, but he's still got the moxie to go up and talk to her. Yeah,
right. I think either that or the idea that if the only crap that came out of his mouth was science stuff, and he just like goes in a preamble of just like, oh, and did
like
you know
Ross
that,
from Friends?
Exactly. Like if he starts going on about dinosaurs, starts going on, but like, yeah, but if you know the like gene splicing, and if you do all this and that, it's just like, okay.
But Gwen might be into that.
But that's why which would work. Joke and be like, well, then you should have applied for the intern.
Which I did like the scene. Again, like I said, there's a lot in here I like. There's just a lot I don't. But the stuff I did like was when he sneaks into Oscorp, right? Yeah. And then he figures out she right away. She knows. Well, you,
Rodrigo.
I know what you're doing
Rodrigo
there, right? and their chemistry for obvious reasons is incredible. It's better than Toby and
which is why I think the
Kristen's
cool might have came out of that is because they fell in love for real. Yeah. Like him being smooth at Emma might have just been him being smooth at Emma.
Yes, but it's also written into the script that he's supposed to
succeeds. Yeah.
But then again, the positive of Oscorp is then balanced out by the negative because I hate the way he becomes Spider-Man in this one. Like he walks into all of these spiders that his father created, which I also hated, and he's got all these spiders are all over the place. Not one Oscorp employee was ever bitten by this thing or tested out on this thing. He's the only one whose body and if it is, they should have said it was his body specifically warmed up to this thing. But it didn't,
and they could have played with the father thing with that, like the genetic code.
Yeah, of the father, right. And he just wanders in, gets bitten, and he becomes Spider-Man. And I hated the scene on the train. I think you could have just went straight to almost what Raimi did, where he goes home, he gets sick, he wakes up, and he comes back because you cut out this stupid scene on the train when he just starts. Oh no, now I know how to fight. And now I know how to do this. Now I know how to climb up. Now I know how to jump on a wall.
Well, hold
that
on.
quick.
Hold on.
The spider sense.
I get what you.
That quick.
No. But remember, he did that same thing where he accidentally was doing like it's almost a beat for beat with what happens in the cafeteria with Flash.
That's later, dude.
No. Yeah. Not in this film. In the Raimi film.
That's what I'm saying. That's later.
It is the next day.
Not moments later. When he gets in the Raimi film, he gets sick.
Yeah.
He wakes up. He's like, what? Then he goes on the roof and he's got to he's trying to figure out how to do it. He's banging into walls. So this kid is jumping up on the ceiling and kicking everyone's ass in 2 seconds.
So it's a little faster. So I will give you that.
But I like the way it's displayed in this one better.
Right. I agree with that.
Stuck to stuff and him like not being able to control it.
But cut that scene out of the train and then go right into where he comes home and he's eating everything and he takes everything and she's like, what are you doing? And he goes upstairs. He's like, I'm hungry. Like, cool. That stuff worked. And then he's trying to figure it out. And he's like, and I love and hate. Love that he's the one that made these things.
And that feels like scientist. That's more scientist than we ever saw Toby. When he's like the excited nerd that succeeds at the 15th experiment he did, like that's Spider-Man.
This made me want Andrew Garfield in the Sam Raimi first two movies. That's what this one.
Oh, I'd love that.
This is what I wanted.
Yeah,
I could see that.
This made me want him back.
Emma Stone too. To be
Emma Stone also, but and that this goes to your geekiness that I learned from you is that I would much rather have had Gwen Stacy be the first person in that movie, and then Mary Jane comes later. Yeah, because of the way Gwen Stacy in this movie, you like her, right? She's a good person. Mary Jane is an asshole.
Okay. So I was talking to you about this before that if you guys watched the honors trailer of the Raimi now that we finished.
Yeah.
So that was the other big selling point. They were just like, Mary Jane, who's a terrible person.
Terrible person. Leaves the guy at the altar.
Cheats on her boyfriend with Spider-Man, cheating on Harry with Spider-Man, then cheats on her fiance with Peter, and then cheats on Peter with her best friend.
Ex-boyfriend.
She's awful. She's a terrible person. person.
Whereas Gwen is endearing, and I love the dynamic of Captain Stacy is so important in the comic books. And of course, Gwen would fall for someone that's like a super cop.
Yeah.
So the Gwen's like, I can't do this. I wait for my dad to come home every night. That trauma is so important for the character. And I really like that they use Captain Stacy in a way that makes him a bit more important than just a guy that dies. And because sometimes in the comics, you're like, oh, the father of the girl.
Right. He serves as J. Jonah Jameson in this one.
He's the father figure in the both Peter and Spider-Man sense, which I like.
Which, you know what's funny is I was watching, because I hadn't seen it in so long, I don't know why I convinced myself that Dennis Leary was in the second movie. And
I did too.
Right?
I thought he was. And when he bit it, I was like,
when he died, I went, oh crap, yeah, that's. I remembered
it's probably a flashback, but
maybe
right.
But I thought he died in the second one.
But I thought he died in the second movie. Or I thought he would. No, I thought for some reason when Gwen died in the second one, spoiler. when Gwen dies in the second one, I thought that he was upset about it.
Oh, interesting.
But then I remembered the promise, and I was like, oh, he eats it here.
Yeah.
And that stuff, like, again, good stuff, bad stuff, right? Like the silly stuff where everybody's turned into lizards. I hate that kind of stuff. It drives me nuts.
But okay, that again has been a plot that the lizard has used
since
multiple
the 60s.
times.
Like, what does that mean? But
like that's if you're gonna go with the lizard's main thing
is making
everybody else a lizard. Yeah, so like if we're gonna use this villain, that's
might as well do what he does.
Like Venom not wanting brains. You need brains,
right? But that's the least of it. You know, there's a few different times. I do like when he takes his mask off.
Oh, the kid.
And the kid moment is one of the greatest Spider-Man moments, right? Because he saves the kid, and the kid, he's like, "Come on, dude."
He puts the mask on, and you can cry and put it on.
It makes you strong.
Powers. Great scene. That's what I mean. Like I enjoyed watching this movie. There was just times as I'm watching it, I'm going, I don't know what I do. What I have to also mention is that my good friend Leaf is in this movie, and he kills Uncle Ben. He's the star.
Yeah.
And they still, they never. Wasn't he supposed to? He's eventually Electro. Is that right?
Not in comics, but there is some canon where they make him come back in issue 100. Like he comes back as a bigger thug.
Oh, okay. Because they never resolved that storyline.
They might have in the movies been gonna make him that because Max Dillon is very much that kind of character. Okay. So it would not surprise me because everything's from Oscorp. They're like, and the killer of Ben comes back as Electro. Like that might have been a Sony plan.
I thought that was something that was in there, but I don't know. But either way. That scene worked. I thought Sally Field, obviously.
I love them, dude.
Mark Sheen, great casting, but it was the same thing. Like as they started to go into the Campbell Scott, who I like and was fine as his dad. It's just why? I like it that he just starts off with Peter, with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. You don't need this.
If you cut those scenes, this movie is another grade up.
I agree.
So to me, the lows are lower than the Sam Raimi because the parent stuff is real garbage.
Yeah.
But the highs are higher. So to me, I gave the first one a B+. I gave this one a B+, and I used to give this a BB-. So this actually got better with time, and I think it's on par with the first Sam Raimi because again, I think the lows dip down to like a 3, but the highs go up to like a 9. Whereas my new experience of the Sam Raimi is it's like between 5 and 7. Kind of just lives in a good space.
I give Raimi 1 and 2 over this one.
Yeah, I go Raimi 2, this one, Raimi 1, and then Raimi 3, considering just the 4 we've watched.
Same. I'm Raimi 2 over this.
Right. Yeah. And the way we're going to do it, the way we'll rank it at the end is the same way that we're going to rank the Star Wars movies. We're not going to rank them in far as for like which was the best made film, right? We're going to rank them as far as our enjoyment of the movies. Yeah. Like, for example, so for people that are like Star Wars, no one can argue, and if you try to, you're wrong, that The Last Jedi is not a well-made film. Doesn't mean that you can't hate it.
Looks through the soul of every Last Jedi fan.
And because for me, it's gonna and I fully acknowledge that Attack of the Clones is not a good movie, but I enjoyed watching it more. I haven't even watched The Last Jedi again yet. I'm going to rank it higher.
Dude, I'm going to love your Last Jedi talk.
I don't want to watch it. And I'm going to have to next time.
It's my favorite since Empire, dude.
I mean, I really love... we're not talking Star Wars because
dangerous.
Because that'll open a whole can of worms, but that's the funny thing. Like already, I can see someone be like, well, "Wait a minute! I thought you guys didn't like Spider-Man 2, and yet you're ranking it that." We're like, again, we told you, we were saying it's so good. We were telling you the things that didn't work.
We told you straight up that, and I said when I started the Spider-Man 2, I acknowledge this is a very good movie. I just think, and I still stand by it, it's very overrated.
Yes.
It's rated as one of the greatest superhero films of all time. I don't agree with that.
What we're saying is none of these are yet.
No,
like in all of the 4 we've watched, that is the top one.
Yet.
But none of these are in the Winter Soldier Dark Knight conversation.
No, but I did really enjoy throughout whatever grievances I did have of this overall film. I really enjoy watching Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
I agree.
He does everything right. Even though it's because the character of him being too cool and everything too, that's a direction thing, right? That's more Mark Webb. That's a direction thing. So or story or screenplay. So that's not that he was asked to do. And he did.
And he delivered.
He's great as Spider-Man. Great as Spider-Man.
Like, I mean, that opening sequence of him in the like stopping the bad guys, and he's in the car, and he just keeps closing the door.
Oh,
and then the
really
dude pulls
funny.
it up and goes, "Oh God, not knife, my only week." Like that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Super Spider-Man.
And it gives
Small
you
knives.
I know. Like it honestly feels.
And the suit is a real suit. It's not CGI. Like it feels like Spider-Man could exist.
This is my favorite of the 3 suits. So between what you get in the MCU and what you get in Raimi, this is by far my favorite.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit is my favorite suit because it's this, but it looks like the comic. So, but it's a real suit. Like they had it at the ArcLight, and I just stood and stared at it for hours because I was like, my dreams are real. But for me, the Andrew Garfield of it all is obviously the highlight, along with Emma Stone, and then their chemistry is that next thing. But for me, we've talked about it a couple times, but the imagery from the comic books where they allow you to like swoop underneath him, and he does a pose straight from a cover when he's standing in the middle of the spider web, and he uses it to like sense what's going on when he's fully a Todd McFarlane drawing, like in the center of the spider web. When he does things that you can't physically do, that they actually had stunt performers do right to the point, CGI, then right back to a stunt performer, instead of just making a CGI Spider-Man, which is one of my problems in the MCU. They've done, this is the point up to a human's physical max capacity, like an Olympian level. Then there's a couple frames of CGI, then it goes back to the stunt performer. This had a stunt team of 9 different Spider-Man, and all of them had different skills. I know a couple of them. One of them was their web swinging guy that would start the swing because he was better at launching. Another guy was better at handling the G's velocity of actually swinging it up to 3 G's through New York. So they'd actually have one guy start off, one guy actually be swinging, and then when he'd dismount, then it would be CGI. But this had a team of 9 different peak athletes, and that's why it feels like Spider-Man, because it's the power of 9 men.
There's absolutely, and anything that I have an issue with, there's not one point that I say it doesn't feel like Spider-Man, because it does. It just I think the overall and it's funny because as much as I said about the Raimi thing where it's a little too cheesy, it's always fun.
Sure.
There's sometimes that this movie isn't fun.
The first 10 minutes are especially rough.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's definitely the more dramatic version of it, and I like that. But I think sometimes it suffered, right? But it worked. Except the story, though. The story was my biggest issue. Oh, and the other stupid scene, the basketball scene.
Well, okay, so this
hate
is
it.
so this is
it.
That was the big thing to me that I think was kind of ridiculous. Is like and that again, I don't know why I keep leading on this on a track. I guess it's because I watched it this morning. The fact that they bring out the fact it's like with the Spider-Man that loves to fight only not in his mask, like and they cut to all the different scenes where the mask is off and he's going at it. But also, how is it that everyone knows who Peter Parker is in this school, right? And they know his limitations. He's a skateboarder. He's kind of a dork, like whatever. How is it that you not only are able to all of a sudden ball over Flash, you leap from the 3-point arc and break the hoop?
And the only conversation about paying for it.
And no one goes when a week later some dude named Spider-Man is swinging through the city like, yo, that's Peter Parker, dog.
That's what bothers me.
Yeah, when he's suddenly in the school.
Yes.
He fights in the school.
Yes.
Like, it's like, guys, because that's one of the fun things about the comic books is the occasional student being like, and like they didn't do any of that here. Where one student's like, "Wait, Sandman was in our hallway. That's weird." Like it's got to be those moments.
That bothered me. That bothered me,
that's fair.
especially that scene. That was similar to me, like the train scene where it's just like he's just jumping around, flipping around, hopping on the thing, and now he's flying through the air. Yeah, I like the screwing with them on the ball. Yeah, like it's like nope, and then bounces off his head, and maybe he gets into a fight and tosses.
But
what if
3-point arc jump? That's too
horrendous. Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. It looked like a commercial. Right, and
for
where
Jordans.
If he just has the ball and he's messing with Flash, and then Flash comes in and then he goes to tackle Peter, and Peter uses his super strength and chucks him into like a cabin or something, and then you're like, whoa, look at the strength of this guy. Then you're like, okay, wait a minute, but the super jump across, who doesn't?
But you know what would have done it is if he had gone up maybe for like a dunk. but because he's still Peter and he hasn't really figured it out, if he like hits his face on like the backboard or something, like he bumps his head, then that's a situation where people are like, all right, maybe Peter's been working out, but like he's still Peter Parker, like whatever, not perfect dunk.
And he's like flying through the air, and it's like, I mean,
in almost like a pose, like he's doing skateboarding.
Jordan looks up and goes, I can't do that.
That scene didn't work. I like the train scene a bit more than that, but that scene didn't work for me. I like the train because it showed the innate spider sense going to be solving a lot of our storytelling problems. I think the spider sense taking over him allows later for it to be like he knows too fast.
This threw me off a little bit. Flash isn't a bad... I'm about to change my one F word for the show into the N word for the show, so you better chill.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'll definitely show. This is why you can't do that. I'll just do this.
You just got me out the shot.
This is how I get to react to anything said further.
The Inside Out characters in Koi's head right now are like screaming, "Abort! Abort! Abort!"
Quit the show.
There's no way to receive any emotions from this expression but fear.
You're more red than Spider-Man's suit at the moment.
Guys, I gotta not do this again.
My spider sense is tingling.
So you're saying about Flash, sorry.
So just the idea that I get that when you look in the comics, there are moments where you see that Flash isn't a complete tool.
Right.
I didn't necessarily love him trying to be the one to console Peter when his uncle died. That was a little weird to me, to be honest with you, because there was nothing that ever made it seem like Flash respected Peter.
You don't think so?
I think him tooling him in basketball.
I think that
basketball was enough for him to be like, "Oh, your uncle died. Sorry, dude."
No, like he alphaed him. Like he was like, "Yo, you respect me. I put you in your spot."
As much as I didn't like that scene, I did get that from that because I actually like that scene when he grabs him and he's just like, "Dude, I'm being legit." I'm being legit.
And this feels better being angry.
Yeah,
because why I've been like this.
Because Peter sees it.
Yeah.
And Peter leaves, and I love that scene.
It's a reflection.
Gwen comes over and she hugs him, and he's not there at the moment. He's not like dismissive of her.
I love that. Yeah. I guess my problem is this is a dude that has been tormenting Peter this entire time, and even if that's a moment like that, that's a moment where I need Peter to be like, no, get the hell off me, and that's where you show the super strength. Where all of a sudden he just like, get off me.
He pushes him up against, he lifts him over.
But I'm saying like he calms down because Flash like, I get it, it's fine, and he calms down and then he lets him hug him for a second. I'm saying I would much prefer like Flash, and he's like, don't touch me, dude, and then he's like, no, I get it, like, and he tries to hug him, and then he's like, don't touch me, and he throw like something like that where we still understand even if there's a connection there.
Yeah.
That one just
didn't work for you.
It just didn't work for me.
But what did work again for me was then that moment when at the end of the movie after Dennis Leary dies and she comes to the door and she's like, Flash was there, you weren't there.
Yeah.
And this is that thing that he does. He does have that upset like bottom of the eye cry thing that he does, but it works.
So bridge, so talented.
Yeah, and then when he went so brave, and so when he's there, and I love that she knows her dad so well that she's like, he made you promise.
Yeah,
That's
the cop thing. That's the relationship.
Those moments work.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. Like I said, like there is a lot. I'm not going into this movie going, I hate this movie. I like this movie. It's just there's just a lot I don't like about the story stuff. Like a lot of the Oscorp stuff I don't really love.
I don't like where it goes in the second one. I don't mind it here because it's not everything. Like the next one, they're like literally everything that ever happened is Oscorp. That bothers me.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't love that it's really convenient. But at this point, it's just Lizard, so I'm okay with it because I'm like, oh, that's a cool way to not do the Goblin. Like it's an inventive way to keep.
Yeah, and then they don't lean on Doc Ock or the Goblin.
They're smart enough to pivot into other villains.
Yeah.
But I definitely had a problem with. I think my biggest negative is that they made Spider-Man feel like he didn't adjust to being a hero until the third act, and it's a weird pacing issue. Like he's still kind of a bully for 2 acts of the film, and like him still hunting the criminals. I get the point, and that's why the Flash thing works for me because it was when he realized he was being like Flash, and he's received so much shit from Flash. He knows what it's like to be on the other side. So the moment he sees himself in Flash, I think that makes him go into Spider-Man, and that worked. It just happened later than I liked.
Maybe I missed it and I wasn't paying attention. Did Flash say anything along the lines of like, I get it, I've lost a dad or an uncle?
Yeah, he said I know what it's like, and then when he gets angry, he's like, this feels better, doesn't it? He acknowledges.
Then maybe I just missed that.
Because his dad beats the shit out of him in the comics.
Well, and I know that, but that's the problem is that I didn't hear that line. And if I had heard that, I probably would have taken that. I would have connected to it more, because otherwise it's just like, why all of a sudden is Flash being a nice dude?
Right.
That doesn't register to me in that regard. And that's why I'm saying, then if Peter genuinely hurt Flash and saw what Flash was always, then that would have clicked. I just must have missed that line.
Yeah, and it's a line that changes everything, so I get it.
Yeah.
But it's an acknowledgement of the familiarity between the two of them, and it's Peter flipping and realizing he's becoming Flash, and that changes him and how he becomes Spider-Man, because he stops hunting criminals and starts saving people.
Which I did like that whole thing also, where he's like, there's that agenda of what he's doing, and they even said as much. Like, this is Dennis Leary says it. He's like, this isn't like a great guy. This is a guy who's got a personal vendetta against somebody, and it resonates to Peter, where he's sitting there going, oh, wow, because Peter's trying to defend his actions at the dinner, which, again, a lot of that stuff played very well for me. Yeah. And Rhys Ifans was a good Lizard.
Yeah.
But understanding the relationship that he had with Peter and all that, and realizing that the serum was overtaking his brain. But I think that was the overall problem that I had. Was like, here we go, another serum, another, Oh, I will say this, because the late great James Horner does the score. I don't love the score in this one. James Horner is one of my favorite composers. Braveheart, obviously, which we keep mentioning on the show. Legends of the Fall.
There's a lot going on, man.
Legends of the Fall. Many great Apollo 13. So many great scores. This one didn't work for me that well. There's one particular scene where it's just like he just bangs on the piano. It's like bang, bang, and then there's a funny cameo.
Probably the horror moments when with Lizard hiding.
It's after. It's later on. Yeah, and it's just like it's really jarring. And then there is a funny cameo with Stanley. It's one of Stanley's good.
Oh, I love that, dude. Where he's in the library just listening to music, and they're fighting in the bed. He almost gets hit by a desk, but then Spidey throws it back.
That's one of the highlights of the movie to me, and I haven't mentioned it yet. Is I talked about this with Shang-Chi. The use of the Z-axis is so well done here. The way that Mark Webb uses a frame, not just this way, but this way.
Yeah.
So like the X and Y axis are most filmmakers, and especially Wes Anderson with his symmetry, the use of X and Y is genius. But the way I think Mark Webb in particular in both films uses the Z-axis, because you feel like Spider-Man isn't just in the frame, he's able to leave the frame, descend into the frame, go through the frame, and you're aware of it being shot with 3D in mind, but it doesn't feel like it's ever like an arrow at your face. Like, you don't feel like it's a cheesy 3D. You feel like you're watching a film that takes place within 3 dimensions.
Right.
It's genius.
Was it shot in 3D?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the only ones that looks good.
My biggest question.
My
biggest question about Spider-Man though is when that suit is when he's got to poop. Does he use Tushy?
Must.
Well, he really should, and he should be, because if he stopped, and even if he carried it on him, he could attach the Tushy in less than 10 minutes. And Spider-Man has that kind of time. The modern bidet company is Tushy, and what does it do? It washes away even the messiest of poops, leaving you with a better clean than toilet paper. You didn't know that? Well, then you're not thinking about science, kids. Discuss between me and you and Winston all the things that we have done, the three of us. I want us to discuss this. Messy poops. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good to have messy poops. For me, I remember one time when I was a kid and I was at my dad's softball game and I had an accident and I had to run home and it was messy. Had I been a bidet, I would have just attached it on, washed up, would have got right back there. Instead, paper towels, a lot of other things that could have been avoided, but it wasn't. Questions for all you guys. Is your butt clean enough to sit on the couch naked? No, it's not. Get a Tushy. Because it is the modern bidet that attaches directly to your toilet in under 10 minutes. Think about all that really weird stuff you can do with a Tushy right behind you. If you get poop on any part of your body, you guys would just wipe it right off. You're a filthy liar. You would wash it.
You get a shower.
That's right. Stop wiping and start washing with Tushy. It is the modern bidet that attaches directly to your toilet. It features a lot of different great stuff. You can wash your ace with water for a better clean than toilet paper. It's less irritating washing with water and more soothing for your asshole. It's easy to install. It attaches to the toilet in under 10 minutes. There's no electricity or plumbing needed. And using a Tushy bidet reduces your toilet paper use by 80%. You didn't see that coming, did you? Saving you money. It is eco-friendly and it's stylish. And if you get that new Tushy brush, it is the only toilet brush with disposable scrubbing pads, so you can use a clean brush every time. So start washing with a Tushy bidet for a better clean. Go to hellotushy.com/SENlive and get 10% off plus free shipping. This is a special offer for our listeners at hellotushy.com/SENlive for 10% off. After you buy and install your Tushy, show it off. Tag us and tag Hello Tushy on Instagram. Man.
The ominous no it isn't on the couch line makes me wonder what history we have with that experience. That was no it isn't.
Because you don't. If you think you do, I don't care what you do. You got a white couch, and if you ain't washing your asshole, don't do it.
Just in general,
is very brave to just
don't do it.
Because it's not even just the you shitting yourself. I mean, if you're just walking around, you building up dirt and grime all day. You sit on your white couch and just get brown.
And the three of us are filthy animals.
Anyone with a white couch is brave, but add to that,
men are filth.
No, we're not
filthies.
Dude, they warned us that they may cut off our water today at 9.
Oh, dude.
And so when it didn't, I was like, oh, I'm good. It's like 9:30, 9:45. I'm like, I'm good. They didn't turn the water off. Of course, I get in the shower. I'm suds up. All of a sudden, 9:46. I feel the stream going. I was like, oh, shit. And I was just like as many parts as I could get. And I was like, come out. Come out.
It's true. See? And then if you would have
had a Tushy, you could have
just then stand in front of the toilet and just let it splash the rest of the soap off.
Gotta get creative.
It's no joke.
It's clean water though.
Yeah,
it's clean water.
It's gotta be.
It's no joke. Somebody wrote to me yesterday. Said I just got one of those bidets because you told because they like the ads, but they said you know what. I'm gonna try it out, and people keep getting it. You should do it.
The bidet life is the way to go.
It's the way to do it, everybody. All right, listen. We're gonna keep talking about this. It's the Amazing Spider-Man. There's a lot. Before we do it, also want to thank everybody for subscribing to this channel and being a part of this new channel. At the time of this taping, we are now at 19.4K subscribers. The goal was to get to 25K by the end of the year. We're almost at 20, and we're not even November yet.
And there's way more stuff in November, December.
It's a lot of stuff coming on. So people are really enjoying it. We're getting a lot of great feedback on this channel. I've been spending a lot of time commenting back to everybody and going back and forth and responding to everyone. So please leave a comment. I will do that. Make sure you have the notifications on and when you're subscribed, so you know when we have new videos on. We do reactions. We do trailers. We have the big thing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then Sith Council that will drop today at 4 p.m. And we're doing the Force Awakens rewatch. So head on over there for that as we lead up to so many different things coming up. And I did as I showed you guys, did a reaction of the Pixar Lightyear.
A New Yorker observes.
I just had it. I was in some mood though because we finished up. We did, and if anybody watched my reaction, just watch the last like a minute and a half, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But when I went, I was in that kind of mood for the day. Yeah. So we did a set at Flappers last night. Yeah. In Burbank, California. It was myself, Ken Knapsack, Mark, and Kate Mulligan, and oh shoot, I forget there was a brand new comedian. I missed him too because I didn't get there, but really nice guy. And then Jake Lewis, who part of the Lewis Brothers comedy group, but was the one who directed and wrote Jamie Costa and Robin Williams. So he was, and Jake's a sweetheart of a guy, man. And we were there, but like I was just in that mood. And Kate crushed, by the way. So did Ken. Good. Just and Alice obviously always, but Kate watched. I just got there in time to see Kate go up, but I was very relaxed, and it was I don't want to say it was the least prepared. I was definitely prepared for the stuff, but like where I was so in my head about the other sets because I hadn't been back in so long, and I'm going, okay, here's what I need to hit. Here's what I need to hit. I'm going to see if this works. And this one, I was like, I know I have X amount of this 15 minutes that I know works. I'm just going to pull stuff from things that I've used in the past and just talk. And I used the crowd and stuff, and I was the most relaxed I've been.
That's great, dude.
For a while,
I'm jealous.
so it was good.
That sounds dope, man.
But anyway, we'll be doing some more stuff, especially at Spectacular. Spectacular's gonna be nuts,
dude.
It's gonna be. We're gonna have over like 600 people there.
Yeah. All right,
downtown Los Angeles.
That's crazy.
I love that theater too, man.
Yeah, for people, even if you've never seen the Schmodown, you should just come to party.
This event is a party.
The Schmodownlive.com. You can get your tickets.
I'm looking forward to going sober this time because the last live one we had was the day after my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
So I showed up hungover.
Oh, you show up. Okay. Yeah. Well,
God.
Give it within the first match.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm taking a lift. Yeah. I'm making left choices. I'm going to get home safe.
Well, you got to wait until your match.
I mean, after my match. I'm just going to bring a little flasky.
Yeah.
Make a choice.
Wait. Wait.
Shazam.
Okay. I was like, it's
not a spoiler.
Decided already? No.
Oh wait, well, shoot, champs. It might have been a spoiler. Don't watch the pay-per-view tonight.
It's the first time Christian's ever had one of those. That just happened. There it is.
So I'll put a warning in the thing, but people are going to be like, "Oh, you just spoiled."
I waited until he said it, and I was like, "Man, must have been there."
That's right.
I guess that's fine.
Pay-per-view. So guys, check out the pay-per-view tonight. It's Shazam versus Lightning Time.
Who knows what might happen?
Who knows what's going to happen? I appreciate it so much. It's a great show.
I think EJ's got to walk off today. I think we all.
This is what happens when you don't edit your shows. But you just pre-tape. I just pre-taped and just spoiled the pay-per-view. Oops, sorry about that. And all the times I yell at Roca for spoiling the pay-per-views. The first one, it was I'm just kidding. Lightning Time won.
It was brutal.
It was good. So now your question is, am I telling the truth or am I not? GetTushy.com/SNLive. Why sure ass.
Yeah, you got to clean that shit up, don't you?
I need a Tushy to get that whole moment.
Yo,
I'm gonna text Frank. Can you cut out
just
the whole show?
A minute and a half.
Sorry, guys. I'll put a warning in the thing.
So Spiderman.
Spiderman. So I think Tobey Maguire was playing Spider-Man, and I think Andrew Garfield is Spider-Man. I do. So, and the more I get away from it, the more I feel it. And I'm trying to be so diplomatic.
I want to see you interview him.
Oh, dude, it would hurt me as a human being. Also, like the amount I hear he's a piece of shit.
Do you hate him in these movies? Or
he doesn't like him in person.
Dude, Molly's Game's about the motherfucker.
Wait, that's your. You've shitted 7 times.
I've said, but we talk about poop in the show.
Well, yeah, poop.
That's my first F in the history of 4 episodes, and it's about Tobey.
They called the shit poop.
It's warranted. No, like they made a movie about him being a bad person and with a gambling problem.
Yeah. It's in the book.
Yeah, and we've heard over and over again how he treats people, and like there's definitely a nest to him.
But don't you say it's hearsay? Also, I mean,
absolutely.
If there's enough smoke, there's usually fire. But again, I just feel that sometimes if we don't know somebody, how can we?
I would prefer he be a nice guy that's a bad Spider-Man, but I hear he's both. I hear he's a bad guy Spider-Man. But I like most people, so maybe I'm wrong.
I never met him, so the only time I'd ever not interacted but been in the same room with him was when I saw Zero Dark 30, and he was there at the same screening. He didn't make a ruckus in the theater. Seemed like a nice guy to me. Yeah. Didn't talk, didn't have a cell phone on. Good with me.
Chewed quiet. Nice guy
with me. All right with me. He did start dancing on a piano, but other than that, good to go.
We just accepted it.
I'm trying to think. I've only had maybe 1 or 2 instances where there was a celebrity that I was like, oh, you're a prick.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And other than that, like, for the most part, it's been pretty good, especially being on set like that. I think there's also a different air sometimes.
Here's this, and this is just, again, personal experience as well. But what I would say is it's very hard to judge people off of one interaction, right?
100%.
And one thing, too, especially when there's a matter of, like, look, we don't know what the guy was going through in his personal life. We don't know what he's doing. And again, I know nothing about him. He could be a terrible human being. I have no idea. But from what I'm saying is that if someone meets you have a bad day and they automatically go, oh, he's a jerk to me. And someone else goes, he's not. I mean, look, Tommy Lee Jones is a grouchy old man.
Yes.
Can you say that? Yes. Why? Because every person you talk to in interviews says the same thing. He was grouchy to me. And that's like, if 100 people interview Tommy Lee Jones and they're like, he was really grouchy to me, then he's grouchy.
But like Harrison Ford, we both had good interactions.
Really good interactions.
And like a lot of people say he's not. So like you do need to understand the grain of salt of the situation.
There was even a situation, there was a show I was on where the lead actress had just had a kid like 4 months prior.
Yeah.
And
they're human beings,
and had to come in much earlier than everybody else because of all the makeup she had to do and everything. And I had been warned ahead of time that maybe she was kind of like
grouchy.
a bitch and that, and a little grouchy.
Yeah.
And so when I got there, she like, other than the line she had to say to me, I was like, oh hey, I'm Winston. Blah blah blah. She's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, that was kind of crappy, but I remembered like, okay, her day has been going since 3 this morning.
Yeah.
And then after that, I knew somebody else on the show, and she saw me like, hey, what's up? Like, whatever. And she was like, oh, you guys know each other? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay. Well, it's good to like actually meet you. I'm sorry, I kind of blew you off before. And like that.
If you hadn't been open-minded, And then that's the thing with people, and I try not to. And like you said, the Tommy Lee though, the volume of it changes my perspective a bit.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. It doesn't change the fact that you hate him. It
doesn't help. It doesn't help. You know, just at the end of the day, it's how I connect, and it's dark.
It's true.
Took me 10 years to see Seabiscuit.
But jumping back to this,
but back to Spiderman. Yeah. I actually one of the biggest things that I really appreciated about this. Again, we were talking about the fact that he made his web shooters. Because one of the dangers that happens a lot to Spiderman, it seems like Batman always has infinite battery. Right?
Sure. He runs out again.
He runs out of either webbing or the shooters malfunction or they break. So in this case, Lizard destroys.
Oh, I like that.
Such a great scene.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because the science mind of both of them.
Exactly. So now he has to come up with a different way to solve his problem, and he can't use his webbing, which is his typically end all be all solution to stuff.
And the first two acts they use the webbing so well with the different type of flips and the pullbacks and the
they do the New Yorker thing again in this one too. This time it's C. Thomas Howell, not doing the best New York accent, but I'll let it pass because it's C. Thomas Howell.
We need the crates. Get the crates.
I like this New York better as far as the moment.
So, Winston, do you think in 2021, C. Thomas Howell could get away with Soul Man? I think the answer to that is no.
I don't think it's going to go well for him. I don't think it's going to go well for him. I don't think it's
how he survived that till this day.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He stayed golden. Crazy. Stay golden, pony boy.
But he shows up. He shows up in this one, and it's funny because he's in that scene. We talked about the kid. He's the dad,
right.
And when he's in that, I go, "Is that C. Thomas Howell?" I'm like, "That's all they use him for." And then he comes back for a pretty big moment at the end. But he
gets to represent New York.
Yeah,
but there's a great moment when you're like, that guy's vaguely familiar, and then like later when he comes back, you're like, that's why they cast him.
Thomas Howell
it took me a minute.
Red Dawn, baby, Red Dawn.
well, the funny thing that I was noticing about that whole situation, and maybe you can just tell me if this is a New York thing, because it also happens in the Avengers. This idea where it's like, hey, go get Carl on the phone. We need to get the. He's like, I'm not doing that. We gotta go. And he's like, I don't care what you said. Get Carl on the phone. We gotta help this dude that saved my kid. Like, this is a terrible New York accent, but like you see like this. I love that it feels even more genuine New York than like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Yeah,
and that was more like, get it, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get it done.
Get it done. Get him on the phone.
Hey, listen, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I'm sitting here in my pajama pants. You want me to go help the guy in a mask? Why can't you figure it out? They're shooting around on webs, and you want me to what? Am I getting my crane? Am I getting overtime? I am getting overtime.
Yeah, they literally yelled to get overtime in the.
I'll be there in 20 minutes. Want me to bring a slice?
I do. I have a theory about that. I think the East Coast, both New York and Boston, there's a certain multi-generationalness to it because they've been like people have been in those cities for hundreds of years versus LA, which is historic with a 40-year-old building. And then the resilience of the cold. There's a certain stubbornness to East Coasters. So I feel like this tribal brutality of like everyone thinks New Yorkers and Bostonians are angry and hate them, but we just like protect our own. So I feel like it's more about protecting within than pushing out. And I think in these movies we get to see that because Spider-Man's one of theirs.
I'm gonna go ahead and use my one for the day. There's also a lot of you motherfuckers.
That's true.
So
That's true.
There's a level of no, leave me alone. There are so many people. I don't know you, and so there's
I got my 20.
There's a level of respect for other New Yorkers and other Bostonians, but there's also a level of like, I don't know you from Steve, so go away.
Well, it was so funny. I had this thing I was going to talk about in New York, where like with New Yorkers, when you're in New York and you're walking around, everyone's like mean mugging each other, and it's just like, what? What are you gonna say? But then if I run into you in California, oh, where are you from? You're in Brooklyn? I'm Queens. Right. It's like we form an army out here.
Oh, immediately.
Like, you're part of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
And if you're in New York, you live 20 minutes away.
Nah.
If you're here, that's only like 20 minutes away.
Go back to your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Y'all treat it the same way a lot of us treat family when you're like right there with them, but then when you like see each other at a family reunion, you're like, hey, Carl. I don't know why Carl is the only
Carl's the one member of your family.
Always Louis. Use Louis.
Hey, Louis. Hey, Louis.
And Louis.
Hey, wow. We down here in South Beach.
It's been a bit.
It's been a minute.
Hey, I was in Los Angeles
and I saw my
Santa Monica
Boulevard.
And he was living over on the other side. And then when we lived on the other side, we didn't really get along. But we're living in California. Man, I drove to San Diego because those people are stupid.
Yo, but the minute you land back in JFK, hey, yo, get out of my way. Get out of my way.
You're not sharing that cab.
That ain't happening. How to drive, jerk off.
But I think you feel that in these Spider-Man movies. You don't feel that in the modern MCU, to me. You don't get it. You don't get a sense of New York.
No, they established New York pretty well in this movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Yes,
And I thought like there's a lot of and the what is it you didn't mention it yesterday on our phone call, but when the shots, the video game shots.
Oh, the POV of him
great.
swinging through the city, and
when he's climbing at first, like
and
the
then
video
he
game
lands,
style.
and it's the mirror
I like
shots.
that.
You launch into
Yeah.
yourself, and
Yeah.
you're like, you feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I dug that too. There's a lot of stylistic things in this that I do like. There's not much like stylo. It's pretty gorgeous as far as like a Spider-Man film. Right? Like if this is the first Spider-Man movie that ever came out, and this is the first images that you saw, you'd be like, wow, this is everything I envisioned as a kid. It's just the over. Like I said, I just don't love this story. Like I just don't love this story. It's not acting that bothers me. There's really not too much stuff. The score is it's all right. It's not one of James Horner's best. But the story to me is just not great. There's a lot of stuff that they do in that the stuff that does work in this is the same type of stuff that works in the Raimi because it's the essence of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that works. I understand, however, we're being very clear about this, that they had to switch it up. And the reason they went with this storyline, what people don't realize or may not realize, is this movie came out in 2012. The only reason that Sony did this movie and didn't do the fourth Raimi is because of contract. And they couldn't get Raimi to agree, and they didn't want to lose the property, so they had to make a Spider-Man movie. So they did it, and because it was only 10 years or 9 years attached from the first Spider-Man, or something like that.
Only 5 from the third. Like they were filming within.
It was 10 years. You're right, 9 or 10 years, whatever from the first one. But yes, but then from the third, like 4 or 5 years from the last one. So they said we're not that far removed from Raimi, so we got to change things up a bit. Tone's got to change. The story should change up a little bit. They probably grabbed from that comic book that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's make it part of his parents. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So I get it.
I see a producer going
like
what are we missing? What haven't we done?
Yeah.
Let's grab
Because
the Lizard definitely felt like that. Because to me, I was like, wait, they used Kurt Connors in 2 and 3 heavy, and they were like, we haven't gotten our Dylan Baker Lizard, so we've got some.
That's
Lizard
probably
scripts.
exactly what it was. They took stuff from what they were going to use in the fourth one.
Scripts.
Yeah,
and then David Fincher was supposed to do the first Spider-Man movie before Sam Raimi signed on. He was supposed to do the day of Gwen Stacy dies. So what his David Fincher Spider-Man? Me too, man. Can you imagine? So his movie was going to be the opening credits of Spider-Man's origin, and then the whole movie is about Gwen Stacy dying and the vengeance of Spider-Man. The second movie, Death Gwen Stacy. It's not a coincidence. Sony's like, we got these scripts. We got them. Use them.
And let me ask the question: what if?
What?
I would absolutely have.
Can you imagine?
Seen that.
All right, Jeffrey, right?
Not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's so solid. But David Fincher doing anything I'm in. Imagine him doing a Spider-Man before Sam Raimi. So there's no association, no contact. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That would have been wild, dude.
Yeah.
That would have been absolutely wild. And I will say, I appreciate the fact that for the most part they continued to move forward. They obviously had to retcon a few things in there, that some of it that worked, some of it that didn't. But I appreciate the fact that they didn't rehash out. Like, we didn't see a single thing of Harry or Norman.
No
at
wrestling.
All. You
fell in the ring
have
at the end. At the end. So is that?
So in the prison cell?
Who's in that thing? What's going on in that post-credit scene?
This is the
What is
craziest
happening?
shit.
Oh,
The guy. Do you know this?
No,
I forgot
tell
to
us.
watch the post-credit.
Okay.
Okay. So
this is my favorite shit.
First of all,
You can tell me,
so
it's
the
fine.
post-credit scene itself is Lizard Boy sitting in the jail cell, and then it says something about going after Peter in the shadows, and someone with a hat shows up. Right? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
So the guy that gathers those people in the comic books is literally in 3 frames of Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1.
Okay.
There is a single individual that just his only thing is a hat.
Okay.
So for some reason, some producers like, this character is important. He never shows up again. He's in 1 comic for 3 panels. The Sinister Six it doesn't matter. Like, usually Doc Ock gathers them. Usually like one of the
so he's like
Doc
Dollar-
or Kingpin, one of the two of
So
them.
he's like Dollar Store Nick Fury.
He's like 10 cent Nick Fury. He's 3 frames of a comic, and then in the post-credit scene, everybody's like, oh my God, who's that? And every comic book fan is like scouring.
Did they bring him back in #2?
No. But I remember being so enthralled with like who this mystery man was, and then I found out it was a guy that was in 3 frames that even I didn't know, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. It was like, guys, post-credit scene, guy with a hat, who could it be?
Because I remember when I saw
That
it.
guy.
I remember when I saw it in the theater, and we're like, "Oh, is that Norman Osborn?"
Yeah.
Like, that's what we thought.
That's
it
what
was.
he wanted us to think.
Yeah.
But it's.
But see, what would be really funny about that is, what if at the time Mark Webb was like, yo, they're already eating up these post-credit scenes, because there was the one at the end of like X3, for example, which is a terrible movie, but you get all of a sudden, Professor X, spoiler alert, like transporting himself into a coma patient, so like now he can be reborn and all that.
Right.
So like,
that movie does stink like farts.
It's not good.
Oh, he does come back in the next one. I totally forgot about him. Yeah, so he's literally a guy. He's known as the gentleman because of writing. That showed up for the first time in those 3 panels. He brings together the Sinister Six. He doesn't show up again. They made him a really big deal, and then the comics retroactively added some more. But what's crazy is who plays him.
Ralph Biscuits.
It's Michael Massey who killed the Crow. It's Brandon, the guy that shot Brandon Lee.
Oh man.
So he'd like retired from acting for a while, came back,
and that's what he did. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that actually segues us into our topic of why we started this series in the first place, of how it overall ties into No Way Home, right? So that's the question. You guys have brought it up many times over about how whatever the deal was that Marvel made with Sony, because at one point it looked, remember that big controversy where it looked like it was over.
Gonna be a third. It
wasn't going to be a third,
yeah.
or was it
2019?
Right, wasn't going to happen. It was over. It was done with. There's no more continuation of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's done because they can't be on the same page. And then there was the big thing. They came together. They figured it out. What was in the contract, right? So because they obviously this movie.
Yeah.
Is this the last MCU movie that he shows up? You certainly think this is the last one.
I think it's the last MCU film, and I think he cameos or does some like flat. I think there's another scene of him in another movie because that's what his contract is: is one lead, one supporting.
Is that what it is?
But that's it.
Oh, right. So,
but they could renegotiate, but I don't think they want to because Sony needs this cash.
So spoiler then, Winston, for you guys, because and this is a spoiler for everybody else who has not seen Venom. I haven't seen it either, but I
saw Venom.
You did see? I didn't. I Venom too. I didn't see the second one, but I know Venom sees Spidey and
he sees J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, he sees J. Jonah Jameson?
He sees J. Jonah talking about Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man on like a previously recorded video just like looking off in the distance, and then Venom's like, ooh.
I hate that guy, right? He says, I hate that guy.
Yeah, well, like I want to say like Venom is like intrigued and is like, I kind of want to like eat that guy.
Yeah, he like licks the screen.
And Tom
Eddie Brock
is like, I don't like that guy.
Yeah. So that then sets up a lot of questions, and it really scratch. I know people gave you crap about it, Coy, but like the idea,
about what?
The idea
that
he's
gonna be trapped in Sony.
The Tom
it's
Holland,
called No Way Home,
and he can't get back to the MCU, and he sticks around in the Sony universe, right? And that then ties into a lot of this other stuff, like the guy with the hat, right? We know Sinister Six. Does that guy come back again?
Yeah, I know the Lizard is in a couple frames of that trailer. We get the Lizard in the movie at some point, and I think honestly,
Lizard's in the trailer
in No Way Home. There's like 2 frames of Lizard.
What?
Not even kidding.
Electro's in it too.
Electro's, and then briefly Sandman, which I theorized.
Well, okay. So I knew Electro, but we've also heard of Jamie Foxx's casting. So
right.
That we knew. Right.
So that's fine. But I guess in my brain, I don't trust any of it just because we've seen the MCU intentionally make trailers that are false.
True.
So like,
totally.
So like the Hulk charging in Infinity War, it's the Hulkbuster. The fact that when Thanos attacks Captain America, there's only 2 stones there, or 3 stones there, when in actuality has everything.
Sure, Spider-Man not being in the Civil War trailer,
exactly.
100%. However, the thing is, what people also might think right away, but because you see Spider-Man, you see the guy, it doesn't mean that any of these people are going to be in the movie more than what the DeLorean was in Ready or Not, or Ready Player One.
Sure.
Because you could have all this stuff, because as they're jumping through the dimensions, right, it could be quick, and you could see Sandman fighting against Peter or whatever too, or fighting against someone else, and it's like, then he goes somewhere else. And
there could also be a scene.
Sandman.
I think Doctor Strange might trap some of them because they're incursion events, and they're trapped. I think the Lizard is trapped in Doctor Strange's lair, and it's a proof of another multiverse intrusion. So it could be just be a second of him.
Speaking of what if and you cancel What if? What did you say? Speaking of what if and a spoiler, if you will. Dark Doctor Strange, I think we call him. He's not evil.
Sure. They were calling him Doctor Strange Supreme.
Okay, so is that who we're seeing?
I think so.
I think that's a.
Come on.
Yeah. I see it. That's wild.
2 frames, man.
I certainly think that is a possibility.
Yeah.
The only reason, though, again, you said you finished What If. He's now in charge of guarding Killmonger and Ultron. I don't know necessarily if he has the time
to
do it because he's now focused. Because that was my thought until the What If finale, and then I was like, I don't know.
There's just a lot for sure, and I'm wondering how much of Garfield. So, Garfield, Tobey Maguire. how much do we think that both these guys are going to be in the movie?
Well, so that's the other thing. I think Garfield will be there, but we still haven't gotten any confirmation that he is.
No, he's
right?
been lying and saying that he's not.
Which is beautiful work. I love how he's handling this. The video of him talking to Kimmel and being like, "I'm in the picture, I can't see it." Like that joke is so peak Andrew Garfield. It's also peak Spider-Man. Dude is Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. He said to Josh Hartnett. He talked to Hartnett. He's like, "No, I'm not in it."
Yeah, that was one of the first things that he had one of the first interviews saying "No, it's not me."
Not me.
But at the end of the day, we're gonna find out some craziness, and it's still probably only 10-20 minutes at most.
Yeah,
that's still a lot.
That most.
That's still a lot.
It's the third act.
20 minutes is a lot.
You'll still. I mean, you're saying that you don't think the Sinister Six is coming together until the third act.
Yeah.
Well, you saw those pictures that came out now with Doc Ock holding Spidey and.
I haven't seen.
I think Doc Ock's the main villain. I think the Sinister Six will form throughout the film.
Got it. So maybe a situation where you end up either we're in another universe or. We've accidentally merged one over here, so Doc Ock is the one that's in the way, and then he was like, "I can't be. There's too many Spider-Men."
Will we see Tom Holland fighting the Lizard? Do you think?
I think Tom Holland. So my theory: Tom Holland goes into other universes, bops around for a while,
fight some of them, or no?
Fight some of them, or midway through that happens, and people have already come into ours, and he has to solve it by going into theirs.
This movie needs to be 7 hours long.
Mandatory. But I think the Lizard is a quick hit that's in Doctor Strange's lair.
Right.
That is a moment of just proof that a multiverse exists, because you don't need to do a story with that character.
Right. Just what the hell happened? What was that?
So that's the first act. First act is characters coming into our world. No Spider-Mans, no Doc Ock.
Now, does he jump in? All right, so when he jumps into Amazing Spider-Man, right? So when he jumps into that movie, because that's the movie we're covering today, and he jumps into it. Now, does he jump into a what-if type Amazing Spider-Man, or does he jump into the actual events of the Mark Webb film that we saw? And it's when the Lizard is trying to do all these things. Dennis Leary is still alive at this time. That type of stuff? Or is it just a completely different version of that?
I think Sam Raimi will be jumping into the Sam Raimi universe, and I think Andrew will be different. I think they're going to show both, and I think the best way to do that is everybody's got this loyalty to Sam Raimi's films.
Right.
So they don't mess with that. I think that's why we've got so much Doc Ock, and then I think Garfield is going to be the one that's different.
I have a feeling that they're going to tap, because we're talking one more day type stuff and all that and whatnot. I think because we haven't heard about Kirsten Dunst being in this, right?
No. There's rumors, but nothing solid.
I would not be surprised if they actually went, as much as people hate One More Day, but since that does involve a lot of retconning. So One More Day is a storyline where after Peter reveals who he is, obviously all his people hate him, and so a bullet is aimed for him, ends up killing it, or fatally wounding Aunt May, and she's in a coma. She's probably not going to make it. Mephisto comes up, which everybody keeps going on and on about Mephisto. He comes up and goes, "I'll save your aunt, but I want the one thing that is special beyond all things. Who needs souls? I want your love to Mary Jane, your marriage. It will never happen, and your aunt can live if you do this." And so they debate it back and forth, and then eventually they do it, and that was the point in time at which Peter and Mary Jane were no longer together. Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised if, based off of what's happening there, that was a situation, and that's what Tobey's Spider's coming in is kind of dark. Where he's just regardless of what's going on, something like that happened where maybe something happened to Mary Jane, or Mary Jane was gone, or
I would love for them to play in, though. I would love for them to. This is just a dream sequence that will never happen, but I would love for Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield to team up together, and then they jump into Spider-Man 3, and they see him jumping on the piano, and they go, "Stop this! Stop this!"
Tom just lands on the sidewalk and stops him from dancing. No.
This is going to be a mistake. You don't want to be a meme. Is what
from the future.
Deadpool 2 when he goes and shoots the sewed up mouth Deadpool.
That with the Tom Holland.
I could almost see. I mean, they're not going to do this because obviously Tobey's going to be more in the film, but I could see them showing up into his universe and seeing him doing the finger gun thing, and they go, "Yeah, we don't need his help," and they get back in the film. Go the other direction.
Now we're good. We're gonna go get Andrew.
Can we go back a little earlier?
You were doing great about a year ago.
Not this one.
That would be actually funny. I mean, look, this movie is going to cause a lot of conversation. It is. I mean, but it does. The reason I brought it up is it does allow an opportunity where I just don't think you brought this up, and I think it's a great idea. I just don't think they're gonna have the balls to do it, and that is being able to start. If you wanted to do Amazing Spider-Man 3, right? To do
Sam Raimi's 4?
Sam Raimi's 4. If you wanted to, because it's you just set these two Spider-Men up it's different universes. They did, and now you can see where they continued on.
Yeah.
And because of the Marvel machine, it's going to help kind of bring it in. I love the idea. I just don't think Sony will have the balls.
I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
But if I was in charge, that's what I would do. I would make 3 Spider-Man actively working, and then you get Miles because you can.
Right.
It's easier to introduce Miles in either Tobey or Andrew's universe because he's not a kid.
But will you confuse casual? Will you confuse casual?
I think we're getting to the point where people understand because in Spider-Verse explain quantum theory to children.
Wait a minute. See, this is why I know you're a comic guy who is so inside of our bubble.
Totally.
I bring up my friend John Pinto. He has no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Did he see Into the Spider-Verse?
I don't know.
Well, see, that's the thing.
He might not even know it exists. And I'll tell you, and he's a movie fan. The way he finds it, he doesn't even know that he's a massive Star Wars fan. Loves Star Wars.
Sure.
Had no idea I had dinner with him in New York. Had no idea there was an Obi-Wan series coming out. He's not in our
bubble,
space. Yeah. And like he doesn't, and he's not like the fans who are like in it and want to know about it. He sees it when it pops up on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
He watches it. He probably doesn't have. I'm going to try to call him right now. And I'm going to try to call him. I'm going to try to call him. See if he's probably working. But I want to try to call him and I'm going to ask him about. I know that he likes Spider-Man, and I don't think he is going to know anything about this or whether he's even seen the trailer. Okay. But I'm going to try it. And I told him I mentioned him on the show. I'm going to see.
Whenever Christian calls, you got to wonder. I was like, is this on air? He says it quickly.
Well, he doesn't know. He's never been, but he might not pick up. He's probably going to be. He's probably working
a job.
He's working a job in the city right now. Yeah. But just the fact.
Wait, I gotta get on the crane.
He's on the crane. So do I get overtime for this phone call? He's not picking up. But I want to get him on to talk about this stuff to prove it, and that's what I mean though. That's why, like my wife, who is part of this, is connected because of me.
Yeah.
Has no idea what the hell's going on with Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but I think that's the whole thing. I think part of it. I actually disagree with you. I think that this is a way, and I had said this in one of the other reviews, I think this is a way for Sony and Disney to continue to get along, where their deal is still some form of what it is, maybe more favorable terms for Sony or something. But I think that they have so cemented that Spider-Man has become like an important part and almost, again, setting it up as like he's the replacement for Tony and blah, blah, blah. I think there's going to be a situation where they allow Holland to continue to do what he needs to do. He may never solo a film again, but he might be all over Avengers films. He might be, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. And I think that even speaks to what Holland said in his interview, whether he's pulling our chain or not, of like, this is the end of the Homecoming trilogy.
What about if during this movie, the multiverse gets so screwed up, right? And Tom Holland does get lost.
Yeah.
That not that he's never going to come back, but
it allows
in the mouth of madness. Is that what it's called?
No.
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, the Multiverse of Madness means that something happened in that movie.
And it got moved for a reason.
Yeah. What is the Multiverse of Madness about in the comics?
That isn't a comic story.
Okay, great. No. So
you have full freedom.
Then it could absolutely be whatever the hell happens. Now maybe he's trying to free Tom Holland from maybe you get a few Sony movies in between.
Yeah.
And he still has or you get the Doctor Strange, 3, where he finally frees him or something. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it, and then also still set up. Like, it would be great to have maybe Andrew Garfield in the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, they're working
I think
together.
The way to bring Miles in is do Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because you can't have Tom Holland and Miles Morales the same age.
They're too age.
You can't have them he's supposed to be a mentor, and it's supposed to be like, why is this kid 2 years older than me, like my uncle Spider-Man?
Right.
But if you have Andrew Garfield, who's now in his 30s, he's actually almost 40, but in the movie he'd be near his 30s, and you have him die, and you bring in Miles as like the next wave of Spider-Man.
Even specifically because Miles comes from the Ultimate verse, so the fact that even the Electro used by Jamie
is ultimate.
Is the Ultimate
and
Electro.
Andrew's very much Ultimate flavored. He's very much that style.
Now, I'm John Pinto right now. So, I have no idea what you're talking about.
So long story short, the main Marvel Universe 616, for a while they were doing the Ultimate verse, which was very even though it was like
just
early
speak
2000s.
German, I'll understand that just as well.
You know how in the 90s there was everything's extreme, like Crossfire and like shit like that. You don't remember how 90s everything was extreme? Like they did Extreme Ghostbusters at one point, where they were one dude.
I don't.
Okay,
I was playing stickball.
I don't.
Okay, so imagine our universe is one way, and we talk about multiverse a lot, multiverse theory.
Yeah.
Imagine a universe that's just more modern. So 20 years newer. Same story, same introduction.
A little extreme.
And it's more condensed.
And that's
so
what it is.
imagine your favorite story of Spider-Man, and instead of being 120 issues, they made it like 10. So you get the greatest hits. Ultimate Universe is the consolidated, modernized version of the regular universe. So I think that's a fair. That's a
good. You know what?
It's now that's what I call universe.
Think of the Ultimate Universe in a lot of ways. I haven't seen all the Visions yet, but like that stylistic where it was like obviously that was more steering towards anime. This was more like the '90s extreme, just like I'm Spider-Man. Right.
So Andrew Garfield's more that. It's a little edgier.
Well,
it's a little harder.
It's funny even when you're talking about how. It just shows how we can tie it all back here to Amazing Spider-Man, what Andrew Garfield does very well, right? And granted, it's only one movie as opposed to Tobey's 3, but if you're going to tell me who I want to mentor Miles Morales, it's not Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Not even
he's a bad person.
Well, by the third one, hard to argue. The third one, hard to argue.
I'm so used to you saying it. I just absorbed it and didn't even think about it. I was like, wait.
But the first and second movies, even though I don't think he's a bad person, he throughout from 1 to 3, he's selfish.
Yeah,
from 1 to 3, he's selfish. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is selfish in this movie in the beginning, and by the end, he is not.
Right.
And that to me is someone that I would like. I think you're right. I would rather him be the one.
I actually just want them to just have secretly been training Jake Johnson and make him like genuinely go.
He's shredded. He's ready.
Like he's a little bit.
Will there be any Into the Spider-Verse?
I think so.
I think Spider-Ham. I'm telling you, man.
I loved Spider-Ham in the thing. I don't want a Roger Rabbit situation. I really don't.
I could see Spider-Gwen, dude. I could see Spider-Woman.
As Emma Stone.
I could definitely see that.
And I don't think it's going to be in the Spider-Verse Roger Rabbit sense where he like pops onto this table. I think they're going to be showing the multiverse and we'll see him.
Something quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be like, hey.
He's not going to actually have something to do. But what would be, but you know what'd be heartbreaking is if Andrew Garfield's character, who's lost Gwen Stacy when we meet him in this, and in the multiverse, he's with them, and then Spider-Gwen shows up, and it's that Gwen. It's a different. It's
that
like
in the comics, man. It's brutal.
Is it? It's like What If, right? When Black Widow shows up at the end there, and sees
you're not my Black Widow, but you're a Black Widow. Right. You got Moxie, kid.
That happens constantly in the comics.
Yeah,
and it's really dark and harrowing. So like I think that's the beauty of these tones.
Trying to throw that in there, and we've seen that obviously Feige does that stuff. But anyway, there's a lot of tie-ins there, and it all ties back to all these movies, and that's hence why we're doing the rewatch. This was Amazing Spider-Man. Now we got to see the Amazing Spider-Man.
Best costume.
Now,
best costume.
The question is, what's going to be worse? Is it Spider-Man 3 or this one? I'm going to venture and say this one because, like I said, when I watched, this movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out in what, 2014?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's only like 7 years removed as opposed to like the 14 years that I was removed from Part 3. Mm-hmm. And as bad as Part 3 is, of Sam Raimi's, it wasn't as bad as we remembered it. It was watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was watchable.
Is this movie watchable?
I think we're going to forgive this more.
There are moments that are, for sure. Like, I think the initial fight with Electro where he's saving people and like the spider sense and like he's literally calculating, oh crap, that lightning is like 2 seconds away from me.
I remember really bad extras in that scene, though. I remember really bad extras. I got to look for that.
But Emma Stone and him alone is better than Spider-Man 3, to me.
Well, I do remember the Gwen Stacy death at the end being pretty heartbreaking.
Their chemistry in this was like ripping you out of the scene. Like you're feeling the friction.
I remember that. I remember thinking when I saw this movie, the best stuff in this movie is them.
Because Mark Webb had just done 500 Days of Summer right before Spider-Man. Like, he's so good at tension. He's so good at relationships.
Yeah.
And then these two, like, so you get a director that's the king of rom-coms and friction, and then you put a couple that actually starts being together. The chemistry is bananas. Like, it's curated. So I think we're going to love the chemistry more than we like Spider-Man 3, but I could be wrong.
So here's a test for you guys. Who did the score for The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I don't schmo down anymore.
That's right. Hans Zimmer.
Oh, no shit.
Really?
Dune's Own.
That is right. Actually, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I mean, you can tell. Like, it's,
I got to listen to it again. I got to see.
I'm excited now.
But I mean, that's the one I'm going to check out for sure. Looking forward to seeing it. Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then after that, then we got the Tom Holland ones, and we start with Tom Holland. We're going to go. We're only doing with Homecoming. And then Far From Home.
Are we not going to do like the scenes of him?
I mean, I think that maybe after, maybe for when we're done with Far From Home, like the last part of Far From Home, we'll just cover those scenes inside. I don't know about doing a full episode of it.
Okay.
I think
I didn't think that, but like
we'll watch the scenes and watch how it ties into it. Yeah, that works.
I still think Civil War is the best Spider-Man we've had. Like, I think Tom Holland in Civil War
he's really good in Civil War.
So good.
Yeah, but he's only in it for like...
He's got like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The movie's long, but he's got a good chunk.
It is.
Which I was going to say, you were saying this movie needs to, No Way Home needs to be like 12 hours. Yeah. I would bet we get at least 2:30, 2:45.
Yeah, it's going to be long.
If I'm being honest.
Say 2:30, but yeah, I think it's 2:40. You're asking a lot of the audience, but I mean, Eternals just did it, and so did Dune, man.
And both crushed. Eternal hasn't come out yet, but
and well, I mean, also from the standpoint that again, this being as big of a culmination as it is, they're gonna be like, we're never doing this again, so they probably will put more in it than less.
They're calling it Spider-Man Endgame, so we'll see.
Is that what they're saying?
That's the director said this week.
I said that last week, so
he said it official.
They listen.
They're watching our show. They're like, yo, hey Tom.
Yeah, why don't you say hi to Toby, dog?
Toby right now has like a dartboard on, and just Koi's big red head, just like throwing.
It's that still earlier of me and Winston when you're like holding on me. That's the dartboard. It's just me.
He's got the hair combed all the way over right now. Just
he's flipping his hair and throwing.
He's
not happy with you.
He's throwing cards like Gambit. He's playing poker. What's tricky is like Leo's. I've had a couple interactions with DiCaprio, and he's such a nice guy, and they're best friends. And I don't know.
That's what I mean. You don't know the man. You don't know the man.
Maybe he's great. He's just not a good Spider-Man. He's not a good Spider-Man.
Yeah, you don't know the man.
I don't know the man. Maybe he's nice.
Well, I know you guys. No, I don't. But what I will tell you is this. It's been a pleasure to do this show with both Winston and Koi. We ain't done yet. We got three movies definitely with
4.
What are we only 4? What are you talking about?
Amazing Spider-Man, 2 Hollands, and in the Spider-Verse. We got 4.
We got 4 more.
That's what I said, right? Did I say 3?
You
said 2, then 3.
Well, I was wrong.
We got 4.
We got 4.
Counting.
Math is great. So we have.
We're halfway there. We did 4. We got 4.
So we got 13 and a half movies left. we have these 4 movies left. We got the Amazing Spider-Man 2. We got the 2 Tom Holland movies, and then we're going to close out with Spider-Verse, leading in to No Way Home. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do it. We'll do for that movie, so you guys know what we're going to do is we'll do a non-spoiler episode for sure, and then we'll probably follow that up with we will then follow that up with a spoiler heavy episode on both. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Well, thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are found. Please follow Winston A. Marshall, follow Corey Jandrew. That's all I got for you today, kids. Be at that Schmodown. Schmodown Spectacular.
Can't wait.
December 4th. It's a party. Check us out. If you're brand new to the channel, what is the Schmodown? YouTube.com/Schmodown. Check it out. And we'll see you guys on the flip side.
First Christian spoiler today. Historic.